Yeah, okay, well, here goes nothing. It's finally time to take off the valve cover. And we're going to need something with a little more torque. Wait, what? Wait, what? Hold on a second. It's these two guys. If your mallet doesn't work, try whacking it harder and then step back to see what it might actually be. I think. Now, is this it? Okay, time for the great reveal. All right, there, it's nice to see the valve train again. Cam chain's nice and tight. All right, so nice to see it with the valve cover off again. It's been a long time. I'm refamiliarizing myself with it here, so obviously the whole valve train needs to come off. We're wrong already. So, and one. Now the only one who will ever be able to know what any of this means is me. This is the left side of the camshaft. It's boring and unremarkable, but the right side has some marks we need to pay attention to, and it's also stamped so that it's a match set. One thing we have to do is make sure that these cam marks are correct, so that chuck is going to be pointed up at 12 o'clock at the two lines. We'll meet up with the horizontal there. So I took the plugs out so there's less compression. To turn it, I'm going to turn it right here with this 23 millimeter wrench right here on the timing gear thingy. And we're going to get this. Okay, steady cam, there we go. Straight up and down. And then those two lines lined up with the mating surface there on the cam cap on the end. Alrighty, taking a quick break and a reset here. It's really nice to see the valve train on this again, but it's about to come apart. And so I have the engine blocked up. So it's a nice stable platform to work on. You know, I'm an amateur. This is all just fun, but you know, I'm an above average enthusiast, obviously. Tearing into this, I've never sent anything out to a shop except for to have the cylinders bored out. This actually has a Weisco piston kit in it because when I initially got it all those years ago, it had a pit in cylinder number one, I think. That's usually the case. They're stored on the side stand, and all the fluids drip down there. Had a hole in it. Got bored out and has maybe an 836 kit in it. So yeah, certainly I would categorize myself as above average enthusiast. I think when you start taking motors out, doing things like that, you're going beyond regular maintenance. And but again, there's there are people on here with websites and YouTube pages that are engineers. They are unbelievable. But I'm gonna up my game a little bit because I'm gonna uh, get comfortable with micrometers, dial micrometers, and tools that measure in the thousands, and measure if there is lobe wear on the cam and on the journals, and these end caps have measurements, and mic everything out to decide if anything needs to be done about it. Probably not. I mean, this bike runs good. It has good compression. Um, Let me back up a little bit. I've never done a compression test. It has good power. Um, so I don't suspect that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm going to up my game a little bit in this, um, in just the top end, let alone what I'm going to do once I pull the head off. And also I'm going to replace the cam chain tensioner, which I think is nylon. They wear out. It's old. It's original. And yeah, like that. The problem is that if you measure the cam lobes and they need to be reground, I can't do that. I don't have a machine shop. That you have to send out. So do you really want to know the answers? Because then you got to pay to have that done. So you got to work that into the budget. But yeah, I just want to learn that and get better at it, more comfortable with that level of examination, if you will. Okay, I'm just checking here before I tear anything apart how this would all look when it's back together. So that is the timing index, and it's on top dead center of the T line for cylinders 1 and 4, but that changes the way this was lined up. I was about to start taking off the cam chain adjuster on the back of the engine and realized I hadn't really cleaned up this engine block yet, so just some WD-40 and a Scotch-Brite, but gentle in the Scotch-Brite. I don't want to scratch off that paint. I painted this block some years ago, and it's still nice, it's clean, it's in good shape, so I don't want to do any repainting. I want to make this one last, so I put the valve cover back on it just to protect it, and why I just give this a quick wipe down because I don't want any debris falling into any place critical. Yeah, looky here, the first random thing found on the build here. I wonder what this went to. Hold on, it's coming. There we go. That looks familiar. I'll think of it in a second. That looks familiar. Anyway, it's sitting there for years, I'm sure. It's not like the threaded piece coming out of the Goldwing front transmission cover. Like, uh-oh. Nothing like that. Just spare parts. Got a little ahead of myself. I thought I was going to take off this cam chain tensioner and pull off the whole valve train assembly, and I realized I hadn't really cleaned this motor up, so I had to give it a quick clean up. And now we'll get rid of this. First thing we got to do is remember what righty tighty lefty loosey means. There we go. So we got to get this off. There we go. Take the tension out of it. Here's what we do when they're tight. Jeez, wanted to hang on to that last thread. There it is. Well, it doesn't look so worn. Well, I'm sure there's a way to measure it. Check it out. With the time and chain adjuster off, it's time to take off the cam caps on the ends and the two in the middle there. We'll start with the ends. I have these marked, and I put an F for forward. So you can see right there, it's just number 3, and that's forward. Probably aren't going to need those notes, but they've helped before. Uh-oh. Loosen parts already. So it's a bolt on the exhaust side. This type with the flange already on it. But it is a nut and a washer on the exhaust side. Intake side is a bolt. Exhaust side is a nut and washer. So I have to rotate the crank a little bit so that other nut is exposed on the timing sprocket there, so I can get a wrench on it. That'll do it. So, which means that's off, but I don't know. That's about installation. One way or another, it's got to be moved, so figure it out. And next we will loosen up the time and gear nut. And I'm just going to throw it in there. So rotate this back so I have access to this one. Not quite enough. There we go. here ready to go to hold this chain up. Look, I was thinking. Bing, bing. Okay. And now it's all the valves. Confession time. I'm putting these plugs back in to use them as plugs because something needs to be here to block these holes. And the true confession part is I dropped the washer, this washer here. I dropped it and it fell right there. It's sitting right here underneath this rocker when it could have just gone boop right down there. Plugs, which I cleaned up and checked the gap on and I'm reusing. I went ahead and labeled all the rockers. Intake number 1, exhaust number 1, intake 2, exhaust 3, so on. And it's time to take these lifters off. And we're going to start by loosening up all these lock nuts. And back them all the way out with our fingers. And then loosen them all up. The valves maintain their placement because of the tension on the spring, and these have retainer clips on these spring retainers. So you can take everything off and the valves will stay right there. And we're going to loosen up all of these valve adjusting screws. You'll see the ones that are under tension will start to back out. That seems suspiciously tight. All the others move. All right, well, probably overthinking it here. So we've got rocker arm shafts here that I think are ready to be tapped out. Let me see here. Yeah, I guess it's coming, right? Been a while. No, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's moving back and forth. Okay. Yeah, these must need to be all the way out. That came out a little sloppy. That's got pieces of thread. All right, so I'll have to remember that. Let me mark that for thread problem here. Because I need to tap this where it goes into the head. Not a big deal. Okay, now will this tap out? There we go. So this is the rocker shaft. There we go. I'll just stick them right back on here like that. Stick them right back on here like that. When I first took this engine apart years ago, I obviously replaced it, but I took out one of these rocker shafts and it was split in two. It was in two pieces. It probably ran like that for a long time. Nobody knew, but it probably didn't affect the running much. It was bolted in there and they were doing what they were supposed to do. That was a little bit of a surprise. Okay. And I'll put these right back on the way I got them. So the rocker arms are put back onto the rocker arm shafts and stored that way, if you will. And now to lift the cam up, and that's gonna sort of, it'll pop out those end caps that are coming off and the ones in the center. So this starts to release the whole camshaft from those rocker boxes. And now the right side end cap, cam cap comes off. That's the non-boring side. That has the marks on it, and that's the one that is stamped to match that rocker box. Okay, now this can only come out in one direction here. Right? Which is how does this work out without banging the heck out of it? Chain's got to go over. That's the hard part. Okay. Oh, for God's sake, what are you gonna do? Just be as gentle as you can, right? Son of a... I don't remember this sprocket being permanently in the way here. At first glance, it appears that there's not enough clearance for the sprocket to lift over the top of the rocker box. But the center cut of it is cut on this oblong, and you can lift it up over the top of the box, and then you get the clearance that you need. Man, I know that seemed kind of rough, but geez, sometimes you gotta just get the thing off, right? Okay, one camshaft off. And here's my nut that I dropped. Now we're getting down to business. That's the whole cam carrier block. So a little area of concern here. We got a piece of thread coming out. So that'll have to be retapped. No big deal. It was the same thing over here. That's that bolt I was complaining about when I was taking it out. So that'll have to be cleaned up. Little O-rings. There are little O-rings over here. This one here. And then all of these rubber plug things also need to be replaced. No reason to pull the valves. It's easy enough, but I don't see where it's necessary. All right, I think that's going to be it for this part of the series. Thank you for checking in with the Seasoned Rider. Hit subscribe. And now the fun stuff's really getting started. Yeah.